this is a joint work with the Akavia, Neta, Oren, and Boaz Sapir, and I'm going to tell you how basically to avoid the overhead associated with homomorphic encryption. This is the talk would be about. But before telling you how, I want to explain why one would even want to store homomorphic encryption. Okay? So it's not a secret that companies collect a lot of data, right? And in particular, customer-sensitive data are collected. And this data, of course, needs to be really well protected. So companies usually encrypt this data at storage, but called up-level encryption. And also in transit, the data is encrypted. But I claim that this is not enough, and there is still privacy risks associated with this data. So let me give you an example to explain that. I'm going to show you a typical architecture in enterprise, and we will see why there is still problems. So in enterprise, we have a lot of data producers. All of them are collecting the data and then storing it encrypted inside a company-wide storage called the data lake, usually AES encrypted. Okay? On the other hand, we have a lot of data consumers, many, each one of them accessing the data in the data lake and performing different computations on the data in clear text. Okay? Later, usually the result of the computation is given to some customer-facing application that only presents the data. It doesn't, these applications usually don't have access to the data lake, just use the result for the customers, okay? And the problem with that is that when a data consumer wants to perform some computation, he is going to fetch the data from the data lake, and this data is going to be decrypted and given in clear text. What's the problem with that? It's enough for an attacker to corrupt one of these data consumers in order to get full access to the whole sensitive data in the data lake. Okay? And this is problematic. What we need actually to do is to minimize the access to the clear text sensitive data, and by doing that, we will be able to reduce the attack surface. Okay? So here is a potential approach to do that. Let's, instead of storing the data encrypted with AES, let's store it encrypted with HE, homomorphic encryption. Okay? I will call it HE during the talk. And then once a data consumer wants to perform some computation, instead of decrypting the data, he will be given the data encrypted and he will perform the computation homomorphically. Now, this is exactly the point of homomorphic encryption. It enables us to perform computations homomorphically without decrypting the data and without granting any access to the secret key, okay? And now, if an adversary corrupts one of such data consumers, he will see just ciphertext, yeah? And semantic security will guarantee us full privacy of the data. So this seems very appealing and very simple. I want to mention here that we will still, of course, have a small set of applications that will have access to the decryption key. This set usually will be these customer-facing applications. Okay, good. Very appealing, very simple, ready for practice? Well, there are several bottlenecks with homomorphic encryption. The first one is significant runtime overheads. But there is a big progress in this area, a lot of attention. The speaker before me also said that. And so this is getting better and better. Okay? But there is another overhead associated with storage. So basically, if we want to store, instead of AES, to store homomorphic encryption, we will get a blow-up between 10x to 10kx. In storage. And if I want to apply the previous approach that I just showed you, it means that I need to blow up the whole petabytes of the data like by 10x at least, which is completely unacceptable, like in practice, okay? So what I want to focus today is basically to talk about the storage overhead and how to eliminate it. And before I'm going to tell you what we're doing in our work, I want to mention two line of works that also dealt with the storage overhead of homomorphic encryption. So first approach suggested to store AES encryptions and then transform them homomorphically to HE by doing homomorphic decryption. Okay? And this was suggested for AES and also for tailored ciphers that has lower decryption circuit. The problem with that is homomorphic decryption is very expensive. And this makes the retrieval phase, when I want to fetch the data from the data lake, extremely expensive and too slow for practical retrieval at scale. Okay? So this approach cannot be used for the example that I showed you. Another line of work is rate 1 HE, that doing packing and compressing many data items into a single ciphertext. And here, there are several issues that also will prevent me from using this approach for storing homomorphic encryption. The first one is that the compressed ciphertexts are only additive homomorphic, which means that if I want to perform computations on them, it's only a very small set of computations because they're only additive homomorphic. Another issue is that although I can compress the ciphertext in these constructions, compressing is very slow. So again, I cannot do it at retrieval time. And there is another feature that's missing here because the packing is done at storage time. I cannot do cherry picking at retrieval, which means I will drag with me to the computation irrelevant data points. Okay, so also this approach is not suitable for the use case that I showed you. Okay, so let me tell you what we do. We do compact storage for homomorphic encryption using a different approach. We use secret sharing. We secret share the data and store only one of the shares. And then when we want to retrieve, we're going to reconstruct securely, again, the data and transform it to homomorphic encryption. And we will do it in the two-server model. Okay? So I want just to tell you what the features that our construction has. We have no storage overhead at all. It's like storing AES. And we have data privacy as long as the two servers are not colluding, of course. And unrestricted homomorphism, the ciphertext, or the resulted ciphertext is fully homomorphic if we use fully homomorphic encryption scheme. And we have fast running time. We only twice slower than the baseline. And the baseline in this talk is going to be storing homomorphic encryption and retrieving them. Like, that's it. Store, retrieve homomorphic ciphertexts. And we have full dynamic control at retrieval. We can do the cherry picking for the data. We can pick the parameters and pick them optimally for the computation, actually. We can also pick the packing profile optimally for the computation. So this basically gives a lot of opportunity for speed up for the homomorphic computation because we can do it optimally for the computation at hand. And our new tool for this is a new scheme of secret sharing with homomorphic reconstruction over the reals. Unfortunately, I will not be able to show due to time constraints the scheme. I will just mention what it gives us. It gives rate 1 shares, which means the share size is exactly as the secret size. We have reconstruction that requires only additive homomorphism. It's super fast. We don't do multiplications, like additive homomorphism over the reals, no modular reduction, as opposed to previous scheme of Shor-Cauchy-Levitz, which means that we can do it over the reals. Modular reduction over the rails, very slow. And we have fast reconstruction over encrypted data with CKKS. Why do I mention CKKS? Because CKKS is fast, faster than others. So if we want to do heavy computations homomorphically, we better use CKKS. Okay, good. So for the rest of the talk, I will show the high level of our compact storage and then the evaluation, like the experiments. Okay, so the compact storage, we're using PRF and we're using 2 out of 2 secret sharing with first random share and linear homomorphic reconstruction. So we want to, in the storage phase, we're storing a data item X into location index. Okay, here we have a data producer holding a PRF key. And he's going to compute the first share by using the PRF, and the second share by using the secret sharing scheme with S1 and X, and store only the second share. The retrieval one would be retrieving X encrypted under HE in location index. So here we have the two servers, as I promised. And one of them, the computing holding the PRF, and the second one is just a helper. He will be the same server for all the computing servers in the organization. And here the computing will compute the first share, give the index to the helper downloads the second share, encrypts it, and sends back to the computing server. Now the computing server can homomorphically evaluate the reconstruction circuit of the secret sharing on the first share and the encrypted second share and get the X. And here, I want just to mention, privacy holds because each server sees just a single share and the semantic security of the homomorphic encryption. Okay, so empirical evaluation. I don't have much time left. So in our system, we instantiated it using our secret sharing for reals and Microsoft Seal CKKS scheme, and we deployed it on a multi-server. Just to mention why this is so strange, it's because we wanted to support the non-colluding assumptions, so we use multi-servers, okay? Here, all experiments are in the paper with all the numbers. I'm just presenting the bottom line here. So in terms of storage, we are better between 10x to 10 to the 4x compared to the baseline, and depends on the packing, how many items we pack together. In running time, we have 10 microseconds amortized per sample, the retrieval and the end-to-end store and retrieve together. And we also translated our results actually into monetary cost of storage and retrieval, and our solution outperforms the baseline, which is storing and retrieving HE, up to 10 to the 16 retrievals per month when we store 25 petabytes of storage, which is reasonable for a medium company. And this is based on AWS pricing in US dollars. Okay, it's outperforms, there are a few millions there, okay, hiding. And the last experiment, I'm not sure. 3 minutes to go. Okay, so last experiments, actually the nicer one, I think we retrieved 2 million data points and then evaluated on them a decision tree, homomorphically, of course. And we did it for our solution of retrieval and also for the baseline, where we had several baselines set up with different parameters of the encryption scheme and also with different packing profile. Baseline A was optimally set for the decision tree. The parameters were optimally set for the decision tree, and B, C, and D were non-optimally, some of them optimally, some not. And I want to mention several things here. One is that if we look on our retrieval, it's only 1.5% over overall time of the retrieve then evaluate. The reason is that homomorphic computation is heavy. And the retrieval is only needs additive homomorphic. It's very light, so it's only 1.5%. So it's negligible, basically, although we're slightly slower. We're 7% slower than the baseline in the retrieval. That's it. I want just to mention, before I conclude, that although scenario A, the baseline here, is better than us in time performance, it's very rare scenario that you can set up at storage the parameters optimally to the computation that will be only known later. So this is, usually data is multi-usage, so it's used for many computations. So usually you cannot set up the parameters optimally. Anyway, so to summarize, we construct compact storage with privacy-preserving homomorphic retrieval in the two-server model. We have no storage overhead, fast running time, and full dynamic control over parameters and data and packing and everything. We have a cute secret sharing scheme with additive that is additive homomorphic, and we can reconstruct homomorphically over the rails. And we implemented the system, and everything is in the paper. Thank you.